This podcast is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Welcome to Shift into Better Health, the National Diabetes Prevention Program's podcast series for lifestyle change program enrollees. For folks who want to improve their health, have more energy, and prevent type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. The Lifestyle Change Program is proven to work. I'm your host, Captain Jack, radio personality and former professional truck driver. Each episode in this series is led by drivers for drivers and will cover a topic from the National Diabetes Prevention Program's Lifestyle Change Program. We'll talk about how to tackle challenges professional drivers face so you'll arrive at your destination a healthier you, faster and easier. In our last episode, we learned about getting more and better sleep and why catching good Z's is just as important for your health as eating healthy and exercising. Today, we're going to focus on stress, how to recognize it and how to deal with it in a healthy way. I recently sat down with two guests to talk about stress. Nori Ellis is a professional health coach with a background in wellness and lifestyle management. She's written numerous articles sharing tips to help drivers improve their health. Also joining me was Daryl Taylor, a Dallas-based professional driver and staff sergeant in the U.S. Army. He's on the road to better health as a successful lifestyle change program participant and has some unique strategies for dealing with stress. Stress is how your brain and body respond to physical, mental, or emotional pressure. For a professional driver, being away from home and working long hours can be stressful. Drivers are more likely than the general population to have mental and physical conditions that are made worse by stress, such as depression, anxiety, and fatigue. The first step to dealing with stress is being able to recognize when you're feeling stressed. Nori, what are some signs that a driver may be feeling stressed out?
Stress affects our brain and our bodies differently. Is it a one-time event that caused some stress to show up, right? That's a situation that's happened. That can be a one-time occurrence, but stress can also be repeated stressors, and that could just be day-to-day work-life balance is just very stressful. A good indication of when stress is starting to show up when their hands are kind of sore and they realize that they've been clenching the steering wheel too hard, tension in their shoulders, when their back muscles start to tighten up. They're all indications that the onset of stress is definitely there. Oftentimes, headaches will be something else that they'll notice is starting to occur more frequently.
What feelings might be associated with stress?
When a driver may state, I'm so anxious or I'm so annoyed or, I'm just really PO'd, these are all signs of stress. And so although we're in that moment and we feel like, no, I'm just angry, it really could be or probably is the result of stress because negative energy generally is derived from some form of stress.
That makes sense. So how are stress and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes connected?
So if you are stressed for long periods of time, and if you are already at risk for type 2 diabetes, you are now much more susceptible.
So stress doesn't cause type 2 diabetes, but it makes it more likely that you can get it if you're at risk. I also know that when I'm stressed, I can make poor health choices. So what are some of the ways drivers can manage and reduce stress they may feel on the road to avoid making poor choices?
Being mindful. Stress is something that we all experience. It's a part of, human nature, but just being mindful of it. When you notice that your jaws are tight or your hands are tight, just take 2 minutes to just be and do a body scan. So body scan is another mindfulness meditation practice, and it doesn't have to be really formal, but just check in with yourself. Am I clenching my eyebrows? Am I grinding my teeth? How do my hands feel when I'm holding this steering wheel? Do I have any excessive tension in my body? And that is a definite way to recognize and then begin to do something about it.
What about activity? In another episode of this podcast series, we discussed how helpful increasing activity can be for living a healthier lifestyle.
Exercising is a big stress reducer. So I would encourage you to, if it's walking, running, lifting weights, doesn't have to be anything extensive and long. 15 minutes 3 times a week is more than not doing anything. I always say, let's do something. It doesn't have to be, that 1 hour, 3 days a week in the gym, because that's not realistic for most drivers. So when you're home and off the road, I would encourage you while you're watching TV, do some push-ups just during the commercial. You got 30 minutes of commercials. So if we can do some push-ups, if we can do some squats, stand up, sit down on the couch, whatever your beverage of choice is that you're sitting there with, you might want to do some arm raises with it. There's lots of ways to be clever with getting in your exercise.
Adding intentional activity can be hard. Do you know of any apps that can help with that?
I would suggest that you find an app that offers multiple types of workouts, right? Because our moods are different all the time and our energy levels are different. There are apps that are available that will give you multiple facets of workouts. So it may be yoga one day, maybe weight training, it may be strength training. So those are all workouts. You kind of want to find an app that will offer you a variety of workouts, especially if it's something that you're going to pay for. You want to make sure that it's meeting your expectations of various workouts.
As drivers, we work hard to get things where they need to go safely and on time. But sometimes we might work too hard, which can cause stress. So how can drivers set healthy boundaries?
So learn to say no to things that you just don't want to do. And I know that can be really difficult, especially, the expectations of the driving industry. But I would suggest creating a wellness plan around the word no. And in that, I would say make your goal to say no once a day. And that could be just saying no to picking up an extra load. Whatever it is, just set a goal that once a day, I'm going to say no to something and jot it down. And then at the end of the week, you can look back and see how many times you said no. Once you get in the practice of using the word no, it kind of flows more freely and you feel liberated, kind of empowered that, you're in charge of you. You don't feel like you're just being run in the ground, which ultimately stress will show up.
That's a great idea. Stress can be difficult to handle alone. And out on the road, we spend a lot of time isolated from other people. So how can drivers create a network of support for themselves?
I would suggest talking to friends or family. And if that doesn't work for you, especially for drivers, you all connect so well with each other and are relatable, sometimes just reaching out on your radio or whether it's through messaging groups that you might belong to and just kind of share what you're feeling is definitely going to be beneficial. Managing stress can certainly require some outside resources. And then there comes a time where the only way to manage our stress may be with a mental health professional. Whatever your personal needs are for managing your stress, I encourage you to seek the supports that you need and never feel like there's something wrong. It's what you need. And I would just strongly encourage you to get the help you need for where you're at.
Well, thanks so much for your insights, Nori. Asking for help is a sign of strength. For me, being a big man the way I am, I don't need to call anybody, talk to anybody. I just deal with the stress. Not really. I pick up the phone and call my wife. She always helps me out of it. Hey, Daryl, what stresses you out?
Well, I guess the only thing that'll really bother me is when something happens at the house and I just can't get there in time. And I have to get other people or contact other people to get that problem fixed.
Wow, that's tough. How do you deal with those stressful situations?
I used to have little anxiety attacks. So what I found, I like being by myself. I like going out by myself and just, going for a little walk to take my mind off the situation. When I'm on my road, I'm pretty to myself. I don't have a CB radio, so I really don't talk to other drivers or anything like that. Just with the family, if I ever do get stressed, I call and vent to my wife and, she listens and that's it. Because it's sometimes something you can't do about it. Sometimes you just want to talk about it. I let her know what's going on or she calls me with her stress and, let me know what's going on. Most of the time when people talk and the stress, they want somebody to talk to. They talk for just a relief, not for an answer. And at the end, an answer can come up. Once that answer comes up, then you say, oh, okay, I can do it like that. So that in itself helps.
Yeah, it sure does. Talking with my wife, Joyce, works wonders when I'm feeling stressed. I know you have a stress management strategy that I haven't heard many other drivers use. Can you tell us about how you unwind using video games?
I got a game that I like playing, the military game. I play about 1 or 2 games of that, and I'm good to go. But usually, I play my games most of the time when I first wake up, and then I play them again before I go to sleep to put me to sleep. It helps with the stress because you take your mind off what you're focused on at the time, and you actually get some positivity out of playing those games. It's less focus on the problems, more focus on the games, take your mind off of it, and just eases your pain, basically.
Well, that makes sense. I really never got into video games, but I can see how they could help you. Me, I just like good old family time. Do it all the time, as much as I can. Any other tips for managing stress?
Don't let everything get to you. Some people go out here and they have a stressful day, or they're already stressed at the house. They get behind the wheel, and then everything everybody does on the road to stress them out. What you got to do at all times is yesterday is the past, tomorrow is your future, today is your present. You cannot fix anything in your past. You work on your present, and then you can control the future outlook and never dwell on anything that you have no control over.
Absolutely. Well, that's all for today. I'd like to thank Nori and Daryl for joining us and sharing their tips and experiences. Next time, we'll chat about how to have a more positive outlook. In the meantime, I encourage you to try setting boundaries for yourself by saying no when you're feeling overwhelmed. You'll be surprised how much it helps. Remember that America needs you healthy. Your family needs you healthy. You need to be healthy to continue living this trucking life. We're on this journey together, every mile of the way. For the most accurate health information, visit cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.